Hello, welcome back to a new video. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can do left click E-man or melee E-man, whatever you want to call it. This way, once you use Final Destination and ways I'm going to tell you about, you don't actually need to have a hype, which will save you, of course, billions right now. I think it's like 1.5 billion, which is insane for a hype with scrolls. So yeah, hope I can help. So without any further ado, let's go right into it. Okay, right, before I show you actually doing the boss, it'll be very useful if I showed you how I do it, what I use, and what you could use instead, because not everyone will be able to do it the way I do it. Because it took me a lot of practice, took me a lot of time, but I eventually got to it. So let me show you. So firstly, I use mine is a 3-piece burning crimson, 10-star burning crimson, and a warden helmet, and I just use damage equipment. However, it is very much easier if you use Final Destination, and you will not need a hype for Final Destination. I've tried it, I've managed to do it in the past. It's just I have a hype, I have the ability to do it in Crimson, I can do it a small bit faster. Everything just works better for me. But yeah, no, there is absolutely no shame in using Final Destination, Ancient Final Destination, just above 25k kills, and just have something like either strong mana if you can live easily enough, and maybe some mana vampire just to help heal a small bit. As well as equipment, you can, especially if you don't have a hype, use like a blue belt, black belt, whatever tier belt you have, what gives damage reduction. Then it also gives you a small bit of health and a tiny bit of defense if you. But overall, helps. Put strength on that, adds a little bit. It helps. It helps any way it can. Anyway, when it comes to weapons, let me show you. I do have a hype, as I said, so I do use it. I'm not. If you have a hype, I'd recommend you use it. It makes it a lot easier. But if you want to learn melee before they eventually fully remove right click, that is definitely a possibility what they might be doing in the future. Atom split. You don't need my atom split, of course. Mine's a very overkill atom split. I just very much like it, especially since I'm an E-man carrier. I thought may as well. So you just need a Swarm 5, maybe Sharpness 6, Ender Slayer 6, Crit 6, and all them just tier 6. If you want to go slightly above, go maybe Ender Slayer 7 and slightly more Sharpness 7. But the rest are kind of overkill anyway. But yeah, if you can afford it and you know you'll be reusing this a lot, it might be worth it for the time save, because it eventually will save a lot of time over time, ironically, but it's up to you. I use Endstone Sword, critical. I use this when I do Crimson or when I do Ancient Final Destination. Very useful. It uses all your mana, but once you time it well so it gets in the rhythm, absolutely no issues with it. You can get it down so it's perfect each time. Well, not each time, you don't have to be perfect, but very good. As long as you use it and it's helpful, you'll get used to it. Date of the stacks, you don't need this at all. This is just what I do for Magic Find. Again, Chimera 3, very expensive. You do not need this at all. As I said, it's just what I wanted to use, as I find it better for Magic Find since I do it a lot. AOTV, now this one is crucial. Ether Warp Transmission, very useful. A bit more expensive, but incredibly useful. It just helps you get to the beacon so much quicker, and even though it uses a bit more mana, it's worth it. Plasma Flux. Let me tell you now, you do not need a Plasma Flux. I have a Plasma Flux because I've had it for ages and I bought it ages ago. And I just wanted it, if I'm being honest. However, you will live absolutely fine with an Overflux. You might struggle with a Mana Flux, so you might be worth going to Overflux. I believe they're on like 50-60 million right now. But please do not try. Well, you can try with Mana Flux, but you will have to put a lot more effort in. Winter Rod, I actually normally have this here. It's just I finished the boss a minute ago. I normally have a Reaper Scythe here. I know you should have 5 souls if you lose souls, but hey, that's why I've got 3 souls, because I've lost 2. It's just, it happens, even when you've done hundreds, if not thousands of bosses now, which I have for other people, you can still mess up the timing, and that is completely fine. If you mess up the timing and have to restart it, and you lose zombie, just as long as you know how you can get them back. And then, very crucial, Wand of Atonement. 7 mil, ult-wise 5, make it about 10 mil total, but yeah, very useful. By the way, let me just quickly go back to this. You do not need a Reaper Scythe. You can use a Necron's blade, not Necrons. You can use a sword which spawns mobs, or you could use, I wouldn't recommend it, but you can use a summoning ring. You don't recommend it because you can't have ult-wise 5 on there. It makes it very mana costly. And you also don't need tank zombies. You can do with like Wither Spectres and other mobs. It's just, I know how to tank zombies. I can make it so it works with my mana usage, and it just helps me out because of the way I do timings. But as I said, it's all personal preference. The lovely thing about E-man right now is there is no one set way. You can learn there's probably 2 or 3 ways very similar to each other which all work completely fine and maybe are all similar speeds. Might be faster for one person than it is for another. And then for pets, I use a Mythic E-Man pet. This is just to help get kills, and when I actually spawn the boss, I use an Ender Dragon. Of course, very expensive. TB Ender Dragon would be just as good, apart from you can't hold a pet item. Like, if you can't afford an Ender Dragon at all, go for either damage or health pet, depending on how much you need. And I would highly recommend maybe a Tiger plushie if you don't have that beautiful 80 attack speed anyway. I don't, hence why I use it. But all personal preference, some people just can't cope with KB, and I completely understand that. It took me a long time to break out of that. So if you can't cope with KB, then feel free to put a Dwarf Turtle Shell on there. As I said, I've learnt it, so that's what I use this for. Let me show you the boss. Right, just about to spawn the boss, but I do want to say this real quick. Do make sure you have your zombies spawned beforehand if they are tank zombies. If they aren't, then you spawn them once it spawns. Actually, you still probably can spawn it before, you need to be more careful. So once I kill this, the boss should spawn, and I'll talk you through it. Also, this will be a bit slower than normal for me, because I'm talking it through, but it shouldn't be too bad. So what I do is I always try and time it, so I only need 1 Endstone Sword and 1 right click of an Atom Split between each sector. Might not be able to do that for you if you don't have enough damage. So yeah, hold the Hype out, it gives the most mana regen. And I will use the Endstone Sword first. The reason I use the Endstone Sword first is because I can use the Atom Split through the overflow mana. The Endstone Sword does not enter the overflow mana at all. So boom, spawn them, holding that out, change, just like that. Like, there will be times we don't have any overflow mana, and that is completely fine. You will either have to wait on getting normal mana back, or whatever, but you should be able to recover it. But yeah, no, this will be when I swap, switch over, pet swap, Atom Split, get it weak, and then finish with that. And just like that, 57-second boss. As I said, normally can get like around 55, 50-second, but 57 not bad, especially for me talking it through. So hope that does help you do bosses. And also, as you can see there, I didn't really use my Wand of Atonement much because it all went to plan. Sometimes it doesn't go to plan, zombies might take a minute, they might run off, and you'll have to use it then as a backup healing, as well as like the Endstone Sword. Or if you have a bad time with the Endstone Sword, it happens to everyone, and it's just a useful thing to have on hand. Right, anyway, that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. So as I said, join my Discord if you need help or anything like that. If you did enjoy, like. If you're new here, subscribe. It does help. And if you want, you can comment. It helps the algorithm give positive interactions. It's very helpful and will help my channel grow greatly. And I'll be quite thankful. As well as I will be doing giveaways in the future in my Discord. So if you watched it this far, you may as well. You can get another 10, 20 mil. I've even done 75 mil in the past. So that's how we're feeling. So without any further ado, see you next time.